Hi, my name is Shana Summers, and I am the head of community for the Her app. Her is the largest app for LGBTQ plus women, trans, and non-binary folks to meet, date, go to events, do all of the queer things that they want in real time. Today, we're going to be discussing how companies can do Pride right, because Pride is year-round and not just during the month of June. Before we can do this, I have to take you back to the Stonewall Inn in New York City, Greenwich Village, June 28th, 1969. This time in history shines a similar light on what has been happening, and this was the moment that Pride was born. And Pride was a riot. This was the day that 8 police officers in full riot gear, not unlike what we've seen in the past couple of months, has been happening. They stormed the Stonewall Inn. Pressure had been mounting from previous riots, as during the time, police were specifically targeting gay bars. You could be arrested and thrown in jail or even hospitalized for your sexual identity. But tonight was different because Marsha P. Johnson, drag queen and gay liberation activist, was in the house and she threw the first shot glass. This was known as the shot glass heard around the world and the riots began. This catalyst started a 6-day protest for the beginning of the major fight for LGBTQ plus rights. I say this, but it wasn't the first one. It's just similar to the events that have been happening recently. But it took the fight to a new level. We wouldn't be where we are today without Black trans women, Black LGBTQ plus people, and the diverse group of the LGBTQ plus community fighting back. That following year, on the anniversary of the Stonewall riots, there were demonstrations in multiple major cities. Gay freedom marches, Gay Freedom Day, promoting the visibility of the LGBTQ plus community for their needs and rights. But there's still so much work to be done. Why do I begin with this story? Because people only see Pride as a party, when Pride is a consistent revolution. Companies feel that they can slap a rainbow on their logo, put their ERG to work with a limited budget, and call it a day. They've done their part. For a long time, companies didn't speak up in support, and now it's become a corporate event instead of a riot. This Pride was different. This Pride, people are not only paying attention to rights and issues happening within the LGBTQ plus community, but within the Black community. And it is speaking wonders to how companies are handling being held accountable. So today, as a proud Black queer woman, we are going to have a conversation. We're going to talk about what you can truly do to support the community that you have. Because the fact is, you have Black people within your product. You also have LGBTQ plus people in your product. So if you feel that you're going to do the bare minimum only in February and in June, that's not going to cut it. This is the moment where people are paying attention, and it is our responsibility as marketers, as growth managers, as community managers to bring those communities together and provide a voice for them in this space. So we're going to go through these 5 different things and these 5 commitments. So I know you didn't think that you were coming in today taking commitments. Today is the day that you are making this commitment to educate, hold yourself and your company accountable, ask questions, take actions, and most importantly, speak up. So first, let's discuss educating yourself. Fun fact, did you know that it's still illegal in 28 states to be fired because of your sexual orientation? And that's just in the United States. So all of this green area shows that I could be fired just for my identity. Around the world, in 68 countries, I could be arrested or sentenced to death because of my identity. 12 of those countries have the death penalty. 68 of those countries would allow it to be arrested. There's still financial inequality. There's still workplace inequality, family life inequality. Like, honestly, do you know how much it costs for LGBTQ plus people to have kids? Like, that's not a mistake. If we're going to have a kid, we're having a kid, but we might have to fight the state for it. We might have to get a bunch of permissions. We might have to have somebody else sign off on that permission. Get yourself up to date on the everyday struggles of your community. Hold yourself and your company accountable. This doesn't mean find your first Black or your first queer friend and ask them to hold you accountable. We are tired of hand-holding. There are resources everywhere to lean on. We need more non-Black and non-LGBTQ plus voices speaking up and showing their allyship. If your company wants to sit and wait before a message goes out or wants to just keep doing business as usual, you need to check on them, because that one ad or that one DM or that one sales pitch could lose you a customer. I recently just had that happen where I have had to let some companies know that it was inappropriate the way that they opened their email and their message, and that we would not be working with them. I've cut ties with at least 5 companies at this point. And most of them are all from cis white men who are asking to do a sales call. Not the time. Know your audience, hold yourself accountable. Make sure that the comms that are going out are genuine and realistic and are consistent messaging with the missions and things that you have going on in your company. If you realize that that mission does not line up, then you have some adjusting to do. When you're looking at your marketing or your growth plan, you want to go through this checklist. So you want to check the scheduled content that's happening. If you have posts that you oversee, any newsletters, any events, any of your general ads that are happening, social media, if you have people that help advertise for you, you want to go down that list and make sure that the message is the same across the board. Push that meeting back, take down those ads, make those quick changes, get everyone on the same page. And I cannot emphasize asking, asking, asking. Ask your community how you can support them. And if you haven't before, start now. And then continue to do so moving forward. Make that a part of your plan. Build the structure in your company. These are examples of some of the posts that the Her app has done when we noticed everything kind of going into the way it was, and we can't hide these conversations anymore. So we wanted our community to know that we supported them, and we wanted them to feel like they could find resources from us. So our CEO put out a really amazing statement about how this Pride was different and the intersectionality of Pride and the Black Lives Matter movement. We've also been able to go out and send resources. This was one of the first ones that we sent out around Black mental health and wellness resources, but we continue to post about businesses and game changers and podcasters that you can listen to and companies that you can donate to. You want to make sure that these spaces are accessible, that they involve self-care practices, and are showing support to your community. Your company mission and practices should always align with these ways to support them. Do you need to stop posting that article about how to have the best product and code? Do you need to take back that sale and deal that you wanted to do when it came through for a holiday? Take a step back and check into your spaces. These are the guidelines and missions that we follow at Her. So we put out messaging that follows what this is and how to support our community. So we have queer women leading the change, self-care keeps us strong, the future is unapologetically fluid, and we don't win until we all win. All of our messages that are going out are following those mission standards. And we make sure that it's consistent, not just when it's a shitstorm. Take action. All of the above is not going to help your community or your audience or your purchasers if they feel that your company or your space is not a safe space and you don't take action. Donating to causes, and here's just a solid casual list if you need a space to look, and if you're still continuing your efforts. But most of you work for really big companies. Those companies can be voices within the community and can be a voice to speak to local politicians, to push the needle on different legislation that needs to go through, have local people come in a socially distanced way. We're still working with COVID-19, to speak to your company and make sure that they know that they're supported. Bring in and support Black and LGBTQ plus and brown and indigenous companies in your area. You want to make sure that you are able to practice what you preach and take that action. You shouldn't just be okay with posting about the Women's March or posting about what your company has done for COVID-19. That's not enough. If you're okay with speaking about that and not speaking about social justice issues, then you need to hold your company accountable, because Black rights and LGBTQ plus rights are issues that are going to happen every day. If I'm coming to work as a Black person, then you need to be able to support me as that person in your workspace. One of the companies that did a really great job with this when it first came out was Ben and Jerry's. Ben & Jerry's has done the work. They're a big company that's able to spread their word out and show what action's happening, and then we're very specific in the type of legislation they wanted to see change, as well as the actions that they would take within their company. People want to see accountability, and now people are asking for the receipts. Receipts are the most important thing that you can show that you're doing the work. So always have those receipts of what you're doing, but don't just make that a marketing or advertising ploy. Actually go out and do the work. Finally, speak up. This is probably the most actionable one, and if you haven't done that over the last couple of months, you need to do it now. It is the easiest but most underutilized one. Next time you're in your community, next time you're looking around to see who uses your product, take a mental note of how many minorities are there. Take a note of how many LGBTQ plus people feel comfortable being out in your space. And don't substitute women, especially cis white women, for visible minorities. Because companies who say their company is diverse because they have women, and then all of those women happen to be white, it's not the same thing. Next time you see someone in the community, or next time you see someone posting in response to your marketing ads, making statements that go against supporting marginalized people, call it out. Make an example, show the community that you don't tolerate it, but also have your resources, be consistent, and whether it starts in the office, in a Slack group, in a comment thread, be ready and don't tolerate BS and don't hide from it. At the end of the day, you're going to have to think about how you want to start. So take those steps. Take one of the 5 commitments that I just provided you. Think about who's going to hold you accountable. Again, don't pick your token friend. Make some more friends, make a community. We have a leadership board, and our community is specifically for the LGBTQ plus community, and we try to be as diverse as possible. But we have a very diverse leadership board that comes in and makes sure that we're telling stories and narratives and everything accurately, but also holds us accountable. Think about what you can implement, whether that's within checking your marketing and looking at the graphics that are going through, seeing your growth plan and what companies you're reaching out to. Do you happen to only be reaching out to companies that have all whiteboards? Maybe you should switch up your tactics. And then think about how this feels at the end, because if at any point you feel uncomfortable doing some of this work, then you need to check yourself and see why that's happening. So again, where do you begin? Watch, read, listen, act, and donate. Start with your company, start with your community, start with the people who are purchasing and engaging with your brand. Because the moment that someone asks to see a photo of your team or of the top super users in your community or the top purchasers, and there's a lack of melanin trend or a lack of diversity trend, it's a bit late to realize that change is going to happen. So this is the moment. Step up, speak out, because we can do social media all day. We can do posts, but posts with no actions shows complacency, and we are done with that. Overall, this starts within. There's different small steps that you can take to begin making big changes, and putting those outward messages and being able to recognize who your audience is and adjusting your strategy around that will actually get you better results. So you can no longer stand on the sidelines and watch this play out. This is time for you to take action, similar to how Beyonce does. Thank you.